Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Coffee with Partners, a mini-series of interviews that sheds light on the sessions of the EU Regions Week, the biggest EU event on regional policy, which is opening its virtual doors from the 11th to the 14th October this year. I'm Manu from DG Regio, and together with Betty from the European Committee of the Regions, we are going to meet some of the partners that are shaping with us this 19th edition of the week. Among the novelties of this year, besides a simplified registration method and a new platform, we have launched a brand new app that you can download on your mobile phones. Let me show you, where you can discover more than 300 sessions to personalize your agenda, to have networking, and also to personalize your experience with the event, and so on. Today, we are joined by three of the partners that have their sessions under the topic Together for Cohesions, from emergency to resilience. And welcome to Marlène Siméon, Director of Operations at Council of European Municipalities and Regions, Lukas Klein-Roschkamp, Economist at the OECD, and Petra Mazakova, Director at Interact Managing Authority. Thank you so much for joining us today in this short interview. Now I give the floor to my colleague Betty to jump right in with the questions. Betty, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Manu, for the introduction and for introducing our three guests for today, whom we'd, of course, like to learn more about. So without further ado, I give the floor to you. Petra, Marlène, Lukas, can you share a few words about yourselves and your organization?
Petra? Thank you very much, Betty. I can start if you address me the first one. Well, as you said, I am Petra from Interact program, the managing authority. Our program exists already for 20 years. We are one of the 4 interregional programs that exist in Europe, along with Interreg Europe, ESPON and URBACT. And we also will do together the session at the European Week of Regions and Cities this year. Our program, Interact, is basically supporting the other Interreg programs, which are over 100 all over the Europe, with exchanging experience, innovation, and information, but also sharing the best practices so they can manage themselves better. We are more than 50 really committed experts in Interact in 5 offices across Europe. Well, and this is what we do. We support the other programs throughout the whole programming period, through the cycle from programming via implementation to closure. And here I am on behalf of the 4 interregional programs.
Thank you very much. How about you, Marlène?
Yes, so my name is Marlène Siméon. I'm working as Director of Operations at the Council of European Municipalities and Regions, CEMR. We are an association, a pan-European association, now representing national associations of local and regional governments from 41 countries, so 60 national associations. We are working on different topics related to citizenship, to green activities, to territories and territorial development, but also international partnerships. We are members of the Cohesion Alliance and also the lead partner of Platforma, which is working on decentralized cooperation, so international partnerships. Thank you very much.
Okay, then to me, well, thank you very much for the introduction, Betty and Manuel. I'm delighted to be here today. My name is Lukas Kamerichkamp. I'm an economist at the OECD. I work specifically in the Center for Entrepreneurship, SMEs, Regions and Cities, which is the directorate of the OECD that is dedicated to regional, urban and rural development, as well as local labor market policies. Personally, my background is in economics. Before joining the OECD, I did a PhD on development economics at the University of Oxford, and at the OECD, I lead projects that consist of both empirical analysis and policy analysis, mainly focusing on regional economic development, the integration of migrants into labor markets and local labor markets, as well as skills development strategies. At the EU Week of Regions, my team will be organizing a workshop on the contribution of migration to regional development in OECD and EU countries, which is based on a project that is supported by DG Regio of the European Commission. In this session, and I'll get to this in more detail later. We will, this session will be centered around new evidence on this topic, on migration, on the impact of migration on regional development, in order to support more effective design of both regional as well as national policies.
Amazing. Thank you very much for already bringing this up, Lucas. So to my next question, why are you here with us today over this virtual cup of hot beverage? Marlène, shall we start with you?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we are here today actually to engage and to discuss about local and regional governments, no? So that we ensure that they have the say in the policy making, be it at European level, at national level, and exchanging also with the OECD, for instance, with Interact and with other types of partners. This is a good occasion to meet and join forces with other types of stakeholders as well for us. You may know that today about 60% of mayors or regions' agenda is influenced by decisions taken at the EU level. So it's essential for us to be here in such events. It's also to show to what extent local and regional governments can contribute to advance a sustainable and long-term Europe's recoveries that leave no one and no territory behind. Both the 2030 agenda and its SDGs, the Green Deal, the Commission's long-term vision for rural areas, for instance, have set the frame for this purpose, but none of those objectives can be reached without the involvement of local and regional governments. So our sessions, we will have 2 sessions and in coordination with partners such as the Committee of the Regions or the OECD or Eurocities. 2 sessions, one about localizing the SDGs, a roadmap for recovery, which will take place on the 13th of October. Another one on rural connections, green and digital innovation to unlock the potential of rural and remote areas on the 14th of October. So we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Petra?
Yes, our program Interact is, I would say, a staple in the agenda of the Week of Regions and Cities. And every year, being a representative of Interact family, we really try to bring to the wider audience what Interact is doing, because, well, the hundreds of programs are doing great things. Sometimes are not very well recognized in the wider audience. So we are organizing a project slam, where you will be able to follow beautiful projects from across Europe that the best Interact can deliver. Also, we will organize a workshop on how harmonization can help territorial cooperation. So we don't all fill in different templates, but really have one single set of documents that beneficiaries can follow. But we also will bring you the novelties in 2021-2027 period in Interact World. And of course, the new possibilities that come with these novelties.
Thank you. And finally, Lucas, tell us more about what you're preparing for this year.
Okay, sure. Well, I mean, first I would like to echo what Marlène was saying. For us, for the OECD, the EU Regions Week of EU Week of Regions and Cities is really a splendid opportunity to meet, discuss, and exchange ideas with other partners that work on regional development. So, myself and my colleagues have been sort of a staple as well, and I'm looking forward to this. Our workshop at this year's occasion will bring something new to the table and fill a striking void in the public discourse on migration, which is a hotly debated topic. Our main ambition for the underlying project for this workshop for the past 2-3 years has really been to advance our collective understanding of the contribution that migration makes to regional development. For that purpose, we've engaged in large data collection efforts to bring novel data to the table, especially at the local level. But also, we've been trying to go beyond existing evidence to elicit new findings on a range of dimensions, such as trade, regions' international competitiveness, their innovation capacity, or the regional income. And for more precisely on our objective, the main purpose of our ambition of our workshop this year is to really expose a broad audience to this new evidence and discuss the possible implications and consequences for policymaking, and an audience of academics, policymakers, experts from all range. And we also, I think this is important to highlight, we hope that our workshop will also help to debunk some myth about migration, and as well as substantiate evidence on some remaining challenges that really will hopefully help regions manage and make the most out of migration.
Thank you so much. And so why would you say that the viewers that are watching us right now should join your session, Lucas? And once they do, what are they supposed to expect?
Okay, no, I think it's a very good question, an excellent question indeed. I mean, well, as I was saying, our session will be on migration and the contribution of migration to regional development. And in itself, migration is one of the most important challenges EU and OECD policymakers face due to its scale, but also because of its need, given the problem of aging in many places, especially in Europe. We think that's why it warrants a lot of attention. In the session, we really will share and discuss new evidence on the actual contribution of migrants to many dimensions of the regional development, in terms of labor supply, skills shortages, trade links, innovation, and demographic change. And we will also try to really engage with our stakeholders to elaborate key challenges for better integration of migrants, as well as how those challenges will differ across regions. So that means our target audience will probably consist of policymakers, researchers, international organizations, social partners, as well as really anyone who's interested in migration or regional development. And if I just may say, I mean, ideally, we hope that our audience will gain a better understanding of those issues and be confronted with facts on a topic that is often hotly debated but lacks evidence. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. And the same question goes to you, Marlène.
Yes, for us. Thank you very much. And for us, it's really about this new context now we are entering into with the Green Deal, with the new vision for rural areas, the 2030 agenda and its localization. So we have to save the opportunities to make sure that no one and no place is left behind. And we have until 9 years until 2030. So it's now that we have to act, and in every types of territories. So we believe that all of our topics will address these global challenges and agenda that we all need to achieve together at all levels of governance, and including by localizing them in our territories and opening opportunities to citizens to own the solutions as well. It will help release also and discuss some results that we had on different studies with our partners on the localization of the SDGs in Europe and with partner countries, but also on rural areas. It will be the occasion to debate on what are the solutions for the different types of territories, and in particular in rural areas, how to seize the opportunities to change the narrative on rural areas, for instance, and move forward in this new global context as well. So we will really try to connect the current reflections on Europe's future and leadership to leave no one and no place behind again. So our target audience, it's really rural stakeholders, rural, local and regional leaders and communities join forces together, join the reflection together through interactive exchanges, also with EU and local decision makers working on rural development, but also everyone interested in more generally in sustainable development, mobility, or digitalization, for instance. So very an interactive session to bring ideas, to discuss those ideas, and to see what we can do for our future. Thank you.
Shall I continue then?
Yes, please.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. I already mentioned that we are involved in several sessions, but this one I will mention is the one with the other three interregional programs, Interreg Europe, URBACT, and ESPON. I must say we already have 100 plus registered participants, so hopefully we will deliver and we will live up to the expectations, but I say always the more the merrier, so hopefully even more will join. Our joint workshop will be focused on the cooperation opportunities and how we will support knowledge in the new programming period. We are all programs that are currently preparing for the 2021-2027. And we will support the stakeholders in different areas, in cities, in between regions, providing territorial evidence, all as Interreg supporting the implementers. And I hope that the participants will get information about each and every program, what we are preparing, how are we preparing our synergies and complementarities, because sometimes really the beneficiaries can get something out of each program subsequently, and then really have a much deeper impact and better effect. And of course, our programs invite everyone who is interested in all things Interreg, and specifically all the bodies implementing the programs, policy makers, but really everyone who would like to either participate in one of the programs or just know what we are preparing for our beneficiaries.
Thank you very much. So as we can see, we're standing in front of a very packed and amazing agenda for all the sessions you've mentioned. And since we have you here for this little chat, we could maybe also dig into some more specific questions regarding your organizations and your sessions. So since we ended with you, Petra, maybe could you tell us what are Interreg's priorities now for a very important topic that's on all of our minds, and that is EU recovery?
Thank you very much. As I said, we are supporting program, and we supported the Interreg community last year when the pandemic struck suddenly, and all of a sudden we were all paralyzed, not knowing what to do. We helped the programs to get back on the track, to find a new normal in the environment that was online all of a sudden. So how to organize meeting, how to make decisions, you know. You don't know, huh? All of a sudden we are not meeting in situ, and basically how to run the programs. And I was really amazed how they recovered very fast and were able to reroute their activities, because of course we were all asked to support the fight against pandemic, and Interreg was no exception. So the programs, they really mobilize themselves, and we Interreg, we have a very nice database collecting all projects, which it's called keep.eu. And we identified that more than 200 COVID-related projects were implemented in the Interreg family, with more than 1,200 partners, which is a great thing. And mentioning maybe just one example for all, it's called FILA projects in IPA, CBC, Italia, Albania, Montenegro. They had the 3D printer that was originally used for innovation in agriculture, but then they realized, okay, this is not needed now, we need to rethink, and they started to print things for healthcare, the mask, the visor, so all equipment that was necessary but not available at the moment, and that was a great thing. And now I'm speaking for all Interreg, not my program, that really it's amazing to see how people can be creative and react fast when the need is there.
Yes, indeed. I am myself also aware of this 3D printing story, and it's an amazing example of cross-border cooperation.
Yeah.
So on a similar note, Marlène, the Council of European Municipalities and Regions is in direct contact with local authorities. So what would you say from your position 1.5 years after the outbreak? Where do we stand?
Yes, now we are really seeing that we are at a turning point. Now, local authorities and the associations supporting them at national level were really on the front line during the crisis. But now we are also at a moment where we want to draw some lessons on what happens, and we realize, and I think that it's time that the governance as well change. No, the way decisions are taken and the way local authorities are involved in the national and European decision making is very important for achieving results on the grounds. So we have been asking for many years now for a true multi-level governance, and this became a reality check to pass through the crisis. We can see that local finances have been hit hard in many corners of Europe, and we will launch a study on the impact of COVID-19 on local finances very soon. And the plans and the recovery and resilience plan that are now developed by the national governments are very important also for local authorities. They can give many investment opportunities and improve the quality of life, but things are happening on the ground, so they need to be involved in this. So this is really this turning point of how to change a governance model and how to involve local authorities, citizens through their local authorities as well. What we can see for rural areas in particular, if I may, because we have these specific sessions on this topic, is a change of narrative as well. The perception of rural areas have evolved during the crisis, with the crisis, where a lot of citizens from the cities were also looking for a higher quality of life in the surroundings, in more the rural areas. So there is a recognition that there is a need for them to be further connected, but also to build their own self-sufficiency and place where communities are built. So this recognition is also evolving in the policies and in the way they are seen by the policymakers. So yes, cooperation and inspiration also from other municipalities were really crucial in this period, and we can see that it's really continuing now. Municipalities, regions need to be inspired by each other, and including through the national association.
Thank you very much. Indeed, very, very interesting insights. And Lucas, with you, I would like to return to the topic of your session, which is migration. And it's also very, very important topic also for the Committee of the Regions and our CIVEX Commission. Tell me, do you think, can we observe any differences between the different regions in the EU and the way they handle integration of migrants into the labor market?
Yes, I actually do, and we do have the evidence on this. So when we think of, I think, to start off with, when we think of migration, we first have to recognize that it varies a lot across regions as to the challenges when it comes to the labor market integration of migrants, as well as the opportunities to really reap based on migrants' potential and their skills. So we do see a lot of differences, and when specifically on the labor market, we can see important differences both across EU regions as well as between regions, even within the same country. Just to give you one example, for instance, in Germany and Hungary, the employment rate of migrants can differ up to 20 percentage points between regions in the same country. So it's quite astonishing. So there are huge differences, and there are certainly underlying issues. And overall, I'd say we can identify three major factors that hold back the labor market integration of migrants in EU regions. So first of all, it's really an issue of gender. Gender gaps are astonishingly high across for migrants. Then there's education, and there's also the issue of the local economy structures. So to put this a little bit more into context, in general, we see that a lot of differences across EU regions are driven by a lack of integration or lack of labor force participation of female migrants in those places. So oftentimes the gap between natives and migrants overall tend to be really high, only in places where we observe low female labor market integration rates. Then, of course, additionally, we see quite a lot of differences based on the level of education that migrants possess in different types of regions. For instance, urban regions tend to attract more skilled migration, which facilitates the integration into workforce. And likewise, the local economy structure plays quite an important role. For example, over recent years, regions that have a stronger service-based economy seem to have been able to narrow the gap between natives and migrants. So in that sense, there are quite a lot of differences. There are some factors that seem to be playing an important role in explaining these differences. And in that sense, going forward, when we talk about policy, such as, for instance, cohesion policy, there's a lot of room for maneuver, or there's this scope for addressing these issues, especially when such policy helps to support or provide measures that support female labor force participation or alleviate barriers to accessing the labor market, offering training opportunities for migrants, improving the recognition of foreign skills and qualifications, or encouraging entrepreneurship among migrants.
Thank you very much. Honestly, you have me sold to register for your session. All three of you, actually. It's always amazing to have such great guests here with us. And thank you for being here. Thank you for presenting what you're preparing for this year's EU Regions Week. And now over back to you, Manu.
Thank you, Betty. And thank you all for presenting your work, your organizations, and for teasing us with your sessions. It has been a very short, rich, and intense discussion. I'm sure we will learn more during the EU Regions Week from the 11th to 14th October. Thank you again for being with us, Marlène Siméon, Director of Operations at Council of the European Municipalities and Regions, Lukasz Kleiner-Roschkamp, Economist at the OECD, Petra Mazadzova, Director at Interact Managing Authority. See you very soon with another episode of the Coffee with Partners, and don't forget to look for the hashtag EU Regions Week on social media to register to the event and to download the app of the EU Regions Week. See you very soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.